Even after the shoguns were dismissed and Japan began its rush to become an industrial nation through what is known as the Meiji era, but still this tendency of the priests continued and continues to this very day. And of course, the appearance of this extraordinary movement of Buddhism, a movement of Buddhism, which related itself to the Nichiren Shoshu priests, who, like every other Buddhist priest in Japan, was required to live in that way and had been doing so for hundreds of years, was the cause for the alarm and state, if you like, of the Nichiren Shoshu priesthood today. Gakkai are in their way. Gakkai is asking for pure faith. And if they're pure, they lose great material gain. So this is an extraordinary situation. But it's important to realize the historical side, because it's not any person's fault. It's the circumstances that were created, including, of course, the appearance of the Gakkai. So the three high priests of those days understood the importance of the Gakkai. When I say those days, I mean the days after World War II, when Mr. Toda was building the Soka Gakkai again. Nisho, Nichijun, and Nitatsu, their names were. Nitatsu was the priest before Nikken, the one who's high priest now. And they understood, in terms of their faith, the significance of the appearance of this body of people. Out of nowhere, they had appeared, just as had been predicted in the Lotus Sutra. Bodhisattvas of the earth. Also, of course, this was followed. Their appearance when they were first founded under Mr. Makiguchi was followed very quickly by World War II, which was the most ghastly event that has ever happened in Japan's history. We've had 2 world wars. One was enough for them, because it culminated, of course, in the obliteration of all their cities except Kyoto, and the destruction of Nagasaki and Hiroshima ultimately by atomic bombs. But again, those high priests, turning to the Gosha, could see that this again had been predicted by Shakyamuni Buddha in the Lotus Sutra. He said that out of the turmoil and suffering of that age of Mappo, the beginning hundreds of years, the beginning centuries of the latter day of the law, out of that poison, what he called the great pure law would arise. And this is what happened. Great pure law was arising. Mr. Toda, through his efforts, encouraged people to spread the teachings wherever they went, and their numbers increased enormously. So let's move on now to miss out one paragraph and go on to no matter what. And this, we move from the revelation to the transmission section of this teaching.
No matter what, maintain your faith as a votary of the Lotus Sutra, and forever exert yourself as Nichiren's disciple. If you are of the same mind as Nichiren, you must be a bodhisattva of the earth. And since you are a bodhisattva of the earth, there is not the slightest doubt that you have been a disciple of the Buddha from the remotest past. The Jujutsu chapter states, I have taught these people since the remotest past. There should be no discrimination among those who propagate the 5 characters of Myoho Renge Kyo in the latter day of the law, be they men or women. Were they not bodhisattvas of the earth, they could not chant the Daimoku.
Big, important words. I said this begins the transmission section. In other words, Nichiren Daishonin here is training Sarenbo, training him as a disciple and the leader of the future. And of course, he's training us as well. And Nichiren Daishonin repeats here that we cannot be anything else but bodhisattvas of the earth. Whether we can actually believe that or understand it, whether we like it or not, we must be, mustn't we? All children of the Buddha. And he then states categorically there must be no discrimination. No discrimination amongst those who propagate the 5 characters of Myoho Renge Kyo in the latter day of the law, be they men or women. And in this extraordinary happening with the priesthood, fundamentally, what it's about is that they want power. They have actually stated clearly that they look upon themselves as superior, a different level to the ordinary lay people. Where does it say that in any teaching of Nichiren Daishonin? Nichiren Daishonin says there should be no discrimination. Even in the rules of Nichiren Shoshu, they have put in a new clause from the beginning of this year saying that making the high priest infallible is medieval. Their own Catholic Church got rid of that one a long time ago. You cannot criticize. If you criticize, whether you're a priest or a lay person, you stand to be excommunicated. It's, of course, anachronistic, but it's a fact. And now I have to tell you that the gravest slander is appearing. Much has happened in this last month. A priest brought to the Gakai passages from a Gosho lecture given by the priest Fukuda, who was the priest who did the final last Gojukai ceremonies we had in London. This was an official lecture given to trainee priests and approved by the high priest. And in this lecture, you'll have a chance to read the actual words in the bulletin that comes out next. He states that Nichiren is the true Buddha of this age, and that Nichiren Daishonin and the second high priest, Nikko Shonin, are provisional Buddha, and that the Gosho is partial and provisional, and that the essential teachings for this age are the teachings of High Priest Nichiren. Unbelievable, isn't it? But on the other hand, it makes things very clear that these people's minds and heads are totally distorted. This really is an extraordinary happening. But it makes it clear of the intention of Operation C. In other words, as one person said it to me, Nichiren Shonin wanted to hijack Nichiren Shoshu and turn it into what would, in a sense, be his sect, because he has been maneuvering everything to be infallible and with absolute authority and power over the believers and the priests. So I'm happy to say that at the same time as all this is happening, and this lecture, by the way, that was last August, though none of us outside the head temple knew about it until this priest brought it to the Gakai. But happily, more and more priests are now standing up. More and more anonymous letters are being written to the Gakai by priests, encouraging the Gakai to go on and not to give in and not to give up, and at some point they will rise up. And I'm happy to say, too, that just literally in the last few days, 7 priests have stood up openly and stated that they will not follow the teachings of the high priest. So this is a wonderful thing. It's the beginning It's the early beginning, but it's certainly the beginning of the final solution to this problem. So what we're going to ask everyone to do, if they wish, there is, of course, no compulsion about it, is to sign a petition requesting the high priest to resign. And this is proposed for all over the world. And Sensei said that maybe they will be able to get something like 7 million, at least, signatures from Japan, from Japanese members, and about 1 million from overseas members. And show to Nichiren at last that he hasn't got a hope. And most important of all, to show the Nichiren Shoshu priests who are not part of Nichiren's faction that we're going with them and we're going to protect them and somehow pull the real Nichiren Shoshu out of this horrible situation which they found themselves in. So I really feel we can see the light at last, although what has happened is so unbelievable. So I hope you feel as I do. The news, in a sense, is staggering. But at last, it's in the open what the motivation was behind High Priest Nichiren and those priests who are hand in glove with him. Okay, let's go on. Read just straight on from there.
Only I, Nichiren, at first chanted Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, but then 2, 3, and 100 followed, chanting and teaching others. Likewise, propagation will unfold this way in the future. Doesn't this signify emerging from the earth? At the time of Kozen-rufu, the entire Japanese nation will chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, as surely as an arrow aimed at the earth cannot miss the target.
So this is Nichiren Daishonin's prediction of the future of the movement for Kozen-rufu, and very inspiring it is. And don't think we're left out. He says Japan there, but a little later on in this same Gosho, he says Shakyamuni Buddha and Tahoe Buddha left Myoho Renge-kyo for the Japanese and all people in the future. Right? Now, let's look at our next passage, which is just a little way down the next paragraph, beginning, Tahoe Buddha had offered Shakyamuni.
Tahoe Buddha, seated in the treasure tower in the air, surrounded by all other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, nodded in agreement. What they decided upon was solely for the perpetuation of the true law throughout the latter day. Tahoe Buddha had offered Shakyamuni Buddha a place beside him. And when they unfurled the banner of Myoho Renge-kyo, the 2 leaders of the entire multitude made their decision together. Could there have been anything false in their decision? Their ultimate purpose in meeting was to provide a way for all of us ordinary people to attain Buddhahood.
How beautifully clear, isn't it? So, despite the efforts that may be made to destroy the Soka Gakkai, no such efforts will ever succeed. Nichiren Daishonin was never destroyed. He fulfilled his mission and inscribed the Gohonzon before he died. Nothing will destroy the Soka Gakkai or Soka Gakkai International because of the profound mission that we have, and because we appeared, all of us, at this particular time in order to fulfill that mission. In Buddhism, even the devilish force of life is important. Its opposition makes us individually have to fight and win. And through that, we become strong human beings and happy human beings who believe in themselves. Same applies in a collective sense. This happening now is not by chance, of course. It is to make bodhisattvas of the earth great and strong, so that they can take the movement of Kozen-rufu into the 21st century and win. And so that through not giving in, through keeping the movement for Kozen-rufu going, never allowing its momentum to slow down, we make the great cause through that for the ultimate solution to the Nichiren Shoshu priesthood. And we'll take them with us happily and gloriously, I believe, into the 21st century. What an extraordinary mission we find ourselves with. But that is our mission. And that is what the Lotus Sutra, everyone predicted. These appearances of the devilish force of life are bound to happen from time to time, both on an individual basis as well as a collective one. So then we go over to the third paragraph on, or fourth paragraph, I think it is. I cannot hold back my tears.
I cannot hold back my tears when I think of the great persecution confronting me now, or when I think of the joy of attaining Buddhahood in the future. Birds cry, but never shed tears. I, Nichiren, do not cry, but my tears flow ceaselessly. I shed my tears not for worldly affairs, but solely for the sake of the Lotus Sutra. So indeed, they must be tears of Amrita.
Tears of Amrita, tears of immortality or eternal tears, not sad, desperate tears. And tears at the state of the world, tears for the awful, misleading happening that has occurred within the head temple. I'm sure Mr. Toda, too, and Mr. Makaguchi shed those tears when they saw the failings of the priesthood in World War II and went to prison in order to defend the movement for Kosen-Rufu and the head temple. They must have wept tears, but not tears of sadness, tears of incredible, in a way, joy that they were able to fulfill their role and mission as bodhisattvas of the earth at that particular time. So we also can go forward really joyfully. Some people have been tremendously upset and disturbed by the priesthood situation. I agree with that. It was always in the back of our minds, whatever we did. But now it's becoming very clear. We no need to worry. What we should do now is just go on. And through going on, protect the head temple until they've got the whole thing sorted out. Then one more passage before we close. It's the last paragraph.
In this letter, I have written my most important teachings. Grasp their meaning and make them part of your life. Believe in the Gohonzon, the supreme object of worship in the world. Forge strong faith and receive the protection of Shakyamuni, Taoho, and all the other Buddhas. Exert yourself in the two ways of practice and study. Without practice and study, there can be no Buddhism. You must not only persevere yourself, you must also teach others. Both practice and study arise from faith. Teach others to the best of your ability, even if only a single sentence or phrase. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, with my deep respect, Nichiren.
Well, this paragraph, of course, is a whole lecture in itself. But very clearly he states the three practices. Exert yourself, he says, in the two ways of practice and study. Practice being Gongyo and Daimoku, for oneself and for others. Shakabuku, for others and oneself, because we discover that through Shakabuku, it accelerates changing our unhappy karma. And study. So I feel that now is the important thing. This Gosho, with all its predictions, is an inspiration. Or at least it is to me anyway, to get on with the job, no matter what. That is the way we can serve the Buddha best at this particular point in time. So at one time, I remember, I can't remember when it was, we had a slogan, go for it. But I feel that's what it's all about now. Let's just go for it. and win, advance this movement for Kosten Rufu, which is so unprecedented, and it's taking place all across the world. And Nichiren Daishonin says here, exert yourself, doesn't he? Exert yourselves. Exert myself. Of course we should. Whatever is there in the world that's worth doing half-heartedly? We get nothing out of it. We're just wasting our time and energy. Exert ourselves, he said. Go for it wholeheartedly. I promise you with my whole heart, this is the way to get joy out of this practice. To exert ourselves and go for it. Such joy comes from it. So, in a little few days, you'll get papers for this petition. Whether you sign it or not is entirely up to you. There's no compulsion whatsoever about it. And also, in the next bulletin, you'll be able to read all these most important events which have occurred recently. So things are moving. Things, as I said, are coming to a head now. And I hope that you will all feel like I feel that our mission is so incredible at this time. In that sense, we can feel proud of what we're doing, proud of our unity, proud of our friendship, proud of what we're doing for the future of these great teachings, which are so necessary now for the whole world. And that, of course, is why the devilish force of life is trying to stop them being spread. So I wish you all the best, and I thank you very much for letting me speak. And I've gone over time, and I'm very sorry about that. But it's been a great experience talking to you all. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Corsten. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of us all. You can talk overtime anytime. So now we're going to have divisional meetings. I've got my timing sorted out, you'll be glad to know. And we'll be having divisional meetings. The men and women's division will be having a meeting together in here, and the youth division will be together downstairs. And the meetings will be a good half an hour, so I'm sure we can create maximum value in that time. And then at 3:15, we'll be having our tea and coffee. And then back here at 4 o'clock for our headquarters entertainments. Okay, so it's now divisional meetings, men and women's up here and youth division downstairs.